Good afternoon. Happy Friday. This is Matt Farrar. He's Joe Clements. We're here live at Strategic Digital Services on this lovely Friday afternoon. It's been a heck of a week.
It's been a long week.
Yeah. 4 days on the road this week. Just got back in about noon today. Kind of a nice little tour of the west coast of Florida. So that's been a lot of fun. We're going to make this short and sweet this Friday afternoon for you. We don't have special guests today, but we do have some interesting news to share with you. We've got some updates from your favorite digital platforms, some interesting tech news to talk about. And as always, we're taking your questions in the comments below. Our team here is keeping an eye on the comments, so if you've got a question or comment, drop it for us just below in the comments. Anybody who comments today is going to get one of these sweet new SDS stickers that arrived this morning. You can stick it on your laptop, you can stick it on your cell phone, you can stick it on your car if you want to. There's lots of places these sweet SDS stickers can go. And I know that's why a lot of you have been holding back on commenting, is because you haven't had any prize for it yet, or you're going to get this awesome sticker if you do it this week. We'll mail it right to you. So.
Right. It's like the indie band of stickers.
It definitely
digital
is.
companies.
It's die cut. You can see it's got a nice outline. So I know you want one of these, so let us know. We'll send you one. Joe, hit us up with the first piece of interesting news from this
All right,
week.
first news from the week. Facebook launches Facebook.gg in an effort to compete with Twitch, which is just the next piece of evidence in the long list of things that Facebook, if it's working, will find a way to replicate it and destroy the other thing. In this case, replicate.
Steal.
They didn't steal. I mean, they didn't go and rob Twitch. It still
fair
exists. People are still on it. They just straight copied it. Facebook.dg, interesting. If you're watching this, you may or may not be familiar with how big of a deal live game streaming is in the broader world right now with esports, and also just breaking out into people streaming their everyday life is starting to happen. So Facebook saw that. It's a relatively, I wouldn't call it a mature sector right now, but it's not nascent.
It's in its infancy, though.
But it's big. Like we're not.
It's not small.
Yeah, we're talking billions globally.
Yeah, it has an infinite ceiling right now.
Yeah, so let's go with the first question. Can Facebook compete with Twitch?
I don't think so. That being said, Facebook's a massive company. It has billions and billions of dollars that it can allocate. So, depending on how important this is to them, they can make a serious play here. But do I think that the gamer community is going to naturally want to move over to Facebook as their platform of choice versus Twitch, a platform that was built from the beginning just for them? Probably not. That being said, Facebook is a behemoth. They eat everything on the internet. I'm sure there's plenty of people told you that the Facebook acquisition of Instagram was going to be a disaster, and it's certainly not. So, could go either way.
Okay, so fun story about Twitch. It actually wasn't originally designed for gamers. It was originally an experiment done by a couple of guys who thought it would be interesting to live stream one of their entire lives for days on end. He actually wore a camera attached to a helmet and had a backpack with all the components in it, and would walk around live streaming, and it was called Justin TV. Now, unfortunately, Justin TV didn't do very well, and a couple days before they were about to give up and shut down Justin TV, he just sat on the couch next to his other friends who are the co-founders. Well, Justin TV had this high point where it started getting a bunch of media coverage, and it zoomed up, got a bunch of attention, and then couldn't monetize and was crashing down, and sat down. They were just playing video games. When they sat down to play video games, they noticed the number of people on the site spiked. And so they said, hey, maybe there's something to this, and that's how Twitch was actually born, is kind of on accident. So they didn't know either that people wanted to watch other people play video games.
Moral of the story, Matt TV launches on Monday. Get excited. I'm going to wear a backpack with about 12 different camera angles on it. You're going to be able to see everything.
Well, that's the interesting thing about Twitch, is that's where it's kind of heading right now, is people not just doing games, but people recording everything else they're doing, live, all the time.
Excellent.
Do I think they can compete with Twitch? Maybe, right? Because if that becomes a mainstream thing, if live streaming your video game experience, your any other experience becomes a mainstream thing that people do. Facebook has access to the mainstream like nobody else does, and Facebook can use that to push people who aren't, maybe thinking they want to live broadcast their games, but push them into doing it. So they have that on the supply of gamers. On the demand end, they could pull people over, because on top of that, Facebook also has a monetization micropayments platform where you can donate to people who are gaming on Facebook.gg. And because of Facebook's larger audience, they might be able to generate revenue there and pull gamers over. And of course, there's a big, spec move there on the future of esports, right? Because there's going to be some platform. It's probably not going to be NBC or ESPN. Even though, did I read recently that ESPN did a deal for esports?
I don't know if they've done a deal, but they've had championships before.
Okay.
Like Dota plays on it, and League of Legends has played a few.
Okay,
Those
well,
are like the two biggest esports right now.
Okay, interesting. So they have done a broadcast of it, because
it's like ESPN 6 or something.
Okay.
Like it's not on any.
Yeah. So
ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Yeah, I think it was just on the web.
it just seems unlikely to me that ESPN will be able to make the pivot into esports, and that there will be another platform that is the ESPN of esports, and that could be Facebook, that could be Amazon, but there's plays out there to be made, and I don't actually expect this is the last you'll see of someone jumping in to that market.
I have a question. Like, do you think it would be like what you consider a legacy brand, like ESPN? You're kind of saying, or like NBC, or like, because YouTube right now, because like I'm big into this. Like I watch championship series through esports, but it's all through YouTube. Like YouTube goes live. Like they have it already in a playlist. Like, do you think that's enough? Or do you think Facebook takes over that? Or like, do you think another like broadcasting station takes over? Like.
So, look, I think that is a question that is really about whether or not the big digital companies, so the FANGs, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Apple, right, are able to parlay what they are now, which is you kind of do it on your computer and maybe stream some stuff, into being the entertainment platform of choice, the way you think of a CBS or an NBC or an ESPN. If they can do that, then I think what you'll see is similar to what you see in the NFL. You'll have some leagues that are on Facebook, some leagues that are on Google. If they can't,
those legacy networks don't have a ton of credibility with the age group that is playing most of the esports and watching most of the esports right now.
You don't need credibility. You just have to have the exclusive rights to the content.
Sure.
So if they end up doing that, right? If Facebook or Google / YouTube doesn't get it, like eventually it'll get popular enough that they will pay for the rights, and it'll kind of work like the NFL. I actually don't think they will. I don't think they'll be able to make the pivot into that. ESPN has struggled to make the pivot into streaming, and I mean Disney's stock price has struggled because of that, directly because of ESPN. And ESPN has struggled because of that.
ESPN can't even get anything in the NFL beyond Monday Night Football, which has had diminishing returns for them every season.
But still, it is it's consistently the highest. It has the most ratings, or second or third highest ratings every week. So even though that sort of television audience is diminishing, it's still the biggest in TV. But yeah, and they're losing subscribers from cord cutters. So that's my long answer to your very short question. Totally depends on what the providers at the top do. If they figure it out, they probably get in the game. If they don't figure it out, someone else probably cuts in on that.
Yeah, see, I think a big thing that Matt and I are talking, like a lot of sports don't build their own broadcasting services, and esports were almost made to do that. To do, like they live stream everything on Twitch, and that goes to live streams on YouTube. So like Facebook.gg could be the exact same thing. Like
it also doesn't require the technical wherewithal that broadcasting a live sport, another, right? Like you don't need $100,000 zoom lenses on your cameras like you do for an NFL game. to get great visuals of an esports tournament, right? I mean,
but like a big one, you need multiple cameras.
You definitely need multiple
Madison
camera
Square
angles,
Garden,
right? But you're not talking about a camera that's
300
yards up in the air from where the action's going on. That needs these Canon $100,000 lenses that zoom in on the play. You don't need the intense dollies running along a 100-yard field of play. Like, you need interesting angles. But look, I mean, the most interesting thing that's happening a lot of times is also what's happening on the screens of the players' computers, and you have that to tap into, in spades.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll make a prediction about where I think. So your observation about like the NFL
barrier to entry for broadcast there is much smaller than it is for any other sport.
I think what in the 2020s has like the major college football TV contracts start to expire, and the NFL's next contract is up again. I actually think you will see most professional sports leagues, and I think you'll see colleges. I think you see Florida State or at least the ACC do this, where they just the ACC network takes on all of the broadcast, because why shouldn't that be streamed? And you can stream at a higher. I think by the time we're into 2025, 2026, it's going to be very difficult for a broadcast network TV station to pay the billions of dollars they pay now for rights to this content. I think they're going to be caught in a rock and a hard place, where if they don't buy the content, they can't have the audience, but they don't have the audience, they don't have a business anymore. I think they're headed there. And so I think what you'll see is teams themselves, or at least the conferences, start to get into their own live stream subscription businesses. Where if you want to watch FSU, you need to have the ACC package. I think it could even devolve past that to the point where teams start to realize, if you're a big brand team, you're a Florida State, you're a Notre Dame, you just do it all yourself, because the barrier to entry for the broadcasting is actually lowering. Like, doing a high-quality broadcast doesn't cost what it did 10 years ago.
No. But it's still, I mean, for the level that people expect, even for streaming right now, it's still high, right? It takes millions of dollars per broadcast, to run even a streaming version of an ESPN quality college football broadcast game. I do think the interesting part is going to be, once virtual reality gets a few steps farther, how they start integrating that into whatever streaming they're doing, right? Can you essentially put on your headset and, pick your seat in the stadium and pretend like you're
100%, yeah.
Can you be on the field because there's a camera on the field? A 360 camera that gives you virtual reality access. So what do those add-ons look like? And then when do, even the legacy networks that have big sports rights start to break away from, cable providers and just go with, their direct streaming platform? Right now, I mean, I only pay for my Comcast subscription for live sports, right? I don't watch anything else, basically, as it happens on TV. Occasionally some breaking news, mostly live sports. So if CBS, decided to give me an all-in-one streaming package that just moved Comcast out of the equation, that would be super attractive to me, right? If ESPN did that for certain sports I was interested in, or just all access to the network, that would be super interesting to me. I pay for 150 channels that I literally never watch.
Yeah. Well, and look, that's why everything's coming unbundled.
Right. But, I mean, I still, I want some of those streaming sports that require my Comcast.
But it'll happen with sports eventually.
100%.
It's the point where the cable companies can't afford, or the network TVs can't afford to pay those leagues what they can make just streaming on their own.
Yep.
All right, so any last thoughts on Twitch, Facebook?
No, let's move on.
Yeah, Twitch is going to be... Twitch, Facebook battle will come back, I'm sure. So we can cut through this quick. I actually don't think it's as interesting as the media made it out to be, but Facebook had several, I think, million, I don't have the story up in front of me, accounts that were reset this week. So that reset their privacy settings from being private to being public. Look, my opinion...
Well, it happened in May.
Oh, it happened in May, and they just reported it.
This week that it happened, but it happened for 4 days in May, where people who thought they were posting private posts that were only going to either their friends or a designated group of friends or a set of people were actually being posted publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Public service announcement. Don't post it on Facebook unless you want everybody to see it.
If you would be embarrassed by somebody seeing it, you probably shouldn't put it on the internet.
I mean, I don't... So look, I understand why people might be upset, But if you're worried about posting it, don't post it. Like, I mean, Facebook has never... You can say what you want about Facebook. They have never said anything else than what they valued was, like, you know, connection and transparency, which means, like, everything you put on there is viewable by everybody. Privacy is antithetical to the DNA of that company. It's not what makes their business model work. Like, if you want privacy, don't do it on Facebook. Do it off of Facebook. Send an email, send a text. I mean, that's not private. The NSA is probably watching, probably the Russians too. But, you know, you won't have to be mad at Facebook when that's ultimately compromised. So, like I said, I don't think it's a big deal. If it's on Facebook, you just need to assume it's public. Other people are going to see it.
Yeah.
All right. So that...
If for no other reason than I could hold up my phone and show the person next to me.
True, yeah.
Right? Like, even if I'm in your small group of friends that was only supposed to be the people that saw this, I can literally hold up my phone and show the person sitting next to me what you posted.
Yeah.
It's not private when people can see it.
Yeah. You know, it's... So here's the, you know, the lead into that question. There are now, in the wake of the Facebook, you know, controversy that's been raging this entire year, several apps that are launching to compete with Facebook, but not compete based on the social graph, like allowing you to connect easily, but competing, allowing you to develop a small network of people you're close to, and just share with those people privately and exclusively. So one of those, you know, I heard in a podcast is called Privy this week. There's actually 2 or 3 others out there. Thoughts on that? Can that ever be? Will that be negative for Facebook? Does it just end up being a net even out for Facebook? People do things on different, you know, they do things on the, you know, Privy or a private app, and then do, you know, other things on Facebook. What do you think? Do you think anybody can compete there?
No, I don't think that, I mean, any network that's starting up right now that's trying to be, you know, the Facebook but more secure is going to get very far, right? I mean, Facebook is designed, like you just said 2 minutes ago, to connect you to the rest of the world, right? Part of that concept is having access to things that aren't just in your close circle of friends. That's one of the reasons you're on there, right? Is to find new people, to find additional people. I mean, there are basically ways to do this already. You can have a group chat. You could actually do it through Facebook Messenger and have a group chat in Facebook Messenger if you wanted a controlled environment of people that could see things. I mean, there are solutions to basically do the things that I think a lot of these networks are solving for. That being said, there may be a marketplace for them, right? They're probably going to be small enough that advertising isn't hyper attractive. As
well, they're all subscription based.
Yeah, they're going to be subscription based, so you're going to pay for it. And I mean, when it comes time to decide for consumers whether or not it's worth the $5 or $10 or whatever they're going to charge a month to be in this, you know, private network where you can have a huge amount of control over who sees it, I think most people are just going to default to, you know, a group chat on iMessage, or, you know, I think they're going to default to WhatsApp or any of the other messaging applications that allow them to control who they're talking to already. Snapchat has some of those features. Instagram direct messages have those features. I don't think there's a lot of traction.
Yeah, look, I think there's this insane notion that's repeated in the media that people would be willing to pay for anything.
We decided a long
privacy.
time ago that we were willing to trade our information to get free shit.
I mean, well, literally, there's an entire generation of people, millennials, whose foundational activity on the internet was ripping music off Napster because it was free. Like, the assumption of an entire generation of internet users is that it's going to be free, and it's either stolen or ad-supported.
That's where my entrepreneurial roots come from, right? My business in the 7th grade was hustling my middle school, making custom CDs for people. I had an order form. I had a really sweet logo that was made in Microsoft PowerPoint Word art. And people got to fill out that form and tell me exactly what 10 tracks they wanted on their CD. I went home with my CD burner, put it on there, stamped a nice, pretty label on there.
Took 45 minutes to print one CD.
Oh, yeah, but that was $10 that I was not going to earn otherwise.
So, you know, I think we can zip that up and say Facebook's not going to go away. It's probably not even going to be hurt. Yeah. What ultimately competes with Facebook one day will probably look radically different from what Facebook looks like.
Yeah.
And they'll have ample opportunity, years, to just steal the idea and replicate it.
Correct.
All right, so what I actually think is the most important news of the week for a marketer, or really we should call it rumor of the week, it hasn't been announced yet, is the possibility that Instagram is going to roll out 1-hour videos on the platform. Now, what I think they're probably going to angle for there, we'll see if the news comes out, is they will probably get also into live, so you'll have Insta Live along with Facebook Live. And then I also...
that exists.
But it's short form, right? It's not...
It can go for a pretty good while.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how long? Kyle, can you look that up? Producer Kyle.
Producer Neepa's going to look
it up.
Kyle,
I mean, you can go at least 30 minutes. You may be able to go up to an hour
Okay,
on live.
interesting.
I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, you can do long-form content on live.
So then the other play there is produced content.
Yeah.
Like, that looks good, longer form, produced content. Maybe even getting into some, like, sitcom type shows or dramas, which Facebook's been trying to push into. Again, like, one of the things that I don't really buy, I don't actually think Facebook or Google are going to be able to compete in highly produced content. Like, yeah, I know you've watched a couple shows that you thought were good on there. It's a big stretch to get consumers to break from what they currently have, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and a specialized app.
But getting people to sign up for Netflix was a big break from, Netflix's first version of subscription-based DVDs, or a break from cable, or going to Blockbusters. So
I do think
it's possible.
I do think if Facebook broke it out, or Insta, into a separate app, and it was just Facebook Film or whatever.
Oh, I mean, I think
it would work.
I think that is where it's going, right? I think it's going to have the path that Facebook Messenger did, where at first it was part of the Facebook infrastructure. There was no separate app, and eventually you saw Facebook Messenger break off into its own thing with its own features.
I think
and it's still tied to the platform, right? But it's its own standalone product.
Now, I'm sure Facebook has a vision for the social element there. Like, people will like or share or comment, in stream on those videos. I'm curious to see if that works, because when people sit down to watch produce content like that,
I think it depends on the length of the show too, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Facebook is probably a place where a lot of hour-long shows or 2-hour films get watched. I do think for shows that are 30 minutes or less, I think it's feasible that Facebook can find a path to hold people's attention on mobile, on the platform, on a video for 20
All right,
to 30
so
minutes.
I guess here's a question, and this is like a question for someone with film is, how long does a piece of content have to be before someone feels like they had a fulfilling story experience, that you were able to get all the way through the story arc? And like, you can cite some short films that are like 35 seconds or 10 minutes long, but what is the minimum amount of time you need to hit?
I don't have a good
and
answer
do it
for
consistently
that. Yeah, I don't have a good answer
over a
for that.
season, like an 8 or a 10 episode season.
Yeah.
It really depends on the content.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell a story in like 10 seconds if it's compelling and it's just a story about some guy picking up a spoon, and that's all you need to see. That's like 10 seconds, 5 seconds maybe.
But can you tell a story arc? I guess the question is, you could do that on one piece of content, short film for sure. Could you build a story arc over a season, 8 episodes, 12 episodes of 10-second hits?
So I think
that's fulfilling to watch, where you feel like you had connection with the characters such that you're willing to come back the next season and be interested with what happens.
Well,
I'm actually... Sorry, go ahead,
What if
Eva.
you're talking about this guy who dropped his spoon and picked it up? That's one story, right? But you follow him every time he does something stupid like that and drops something and picks it up, and that's the whole series.
Yeah.
I mean, that, like...
Well, you would be describing YouTube.
Yes. Yeah. So it really depends on the medium and where you're showing it and what the content is to figure out if it's going to be what's going to be the most compelling.
So I guess my question there is you could do that, but is that substantially different than what goes on YouTube right now with like people getting hit in the groin with football videos? Because you can have a season of people getting hit in the groin with footballs,
So, I think it depends on the type of show, too. I don't know that Facebook is ever the place where, you take a 22-minute, sitcom and go over a 20-episode season, and that's the natural place to find it, right? I'll give you an example of a show that's actually worked really well on the Facebook Watch platform, and it's Mike Rowe's show. Returning the Favor. So it's basically a documentary show. It's a 20 to 30 minute episode, and it goes around the country. He finds someone that does a lot for their community. They did an episode actually in Panama City, my hometown. But find someone that's doing a lot for their community and basically find some huge way to like return the favor to that person where the community organizes to do something really special to help them with whatever their mission is. Mike Rowe, if you're not familiar, is from the Discovery Channel. You've almost certainly heard his voice, even if you don't recognize his name. He had a show, Dirty Jobs. It was on the Discovery Channel. He's been the voiceover for a ton of documentaries and shows on Discovery and similar networks. But Returning the Favor has had a huge amount of success on the Facebook Watch platform because, there's a community that's obviously really excited about what just happened, and it starts to go viral from there, gets spread across the country, and then, they take obviously little 10-second clips to lead you into it, and it's this heartwarming story of something.
So that makes sense because of the element of where it was shot and people being able to share it right away with each other and build a network.
And from there it spreads out, right? And, I watched episodes after that had nothing to do with the community I was interested in just because the premise is
okay, so that's actually an interesting idea about the form factor of the content and where it's shot or the type of community it covers mattering a lot. Whereas a traditional you might look at developing a show based on certain demographics or ages or incomes. Maybe now what you do for those platforms, you look at a show based on where it fits in the social graph.
Yeah.
And Facebook, of course, has infinite visibility into the social graph and has potentially the best idea of what type of shows to create to do it. So, I guess the last thing, closing up the Insta, potential. Go ahead.
The length is for actual videos that you post, not live. Live can be an hour.
Okay.
The length of videos is 3 to 60 seconds. So they're changing that to be an hour.
Okay, so they're bringing the recorded videos up to the live. All right, so from a marketing perspective, what can you do different in an hour of content than you can do in 3 minutes of produced video content?
Everything, right? I mean, that is...
It's like a full story right there.
Yeah, I mean, that is radically different from what the platform looks like now. And I want to say, again, this is a rumor. We don't know that this is actually happening. I mean, it's been, leaked from a couple of interesting sources that seem like it's legitimate, but... I would say, actually, I don't think that's a good idea for them. I actually think that, if Facebook as a whole company wants to focus on long-form video, it should probably try to do that on the original Facebook platform and keep shorter videos on Instagram.
I think where Facebook is going to hurt itself with Instagram is it's going to Facebookitize Instagram.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not going to stop till it turns Instagram into the Facebook newsfeed, and everybody flees that for the next thing, and Facebook has to spend $5 billion acquiring whatever the next Instagram is.
Yeah.
I don't know that users will watch more than a minute on Instagram.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's a really tough sell.
Because the user expectation on Instagram is I'm scrolling through, I'm getting the quick hit on the pictures, I'm seeing a short video, and then I'm done. But we'll see, the thing with Facebook is before they roll something out to everybody, they've usually tested it on sample sets. So if they actually do it, the data's probably there to support it.
Sure. Kyle, do we have any questions we need to tackle?
So Jonathan Romero gets a sticker because he, when we were talking about esports, he asked him his friends who I think are in esports some of the questions we were asking ourselves.
Excellent.
Also, Travis Owens asked about Vero. How do you pronounce that?
I think it's Vero, yeah.
Vero?
Vero or Vero?
I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
I've heard about it in about 10 seconds. What was the question about it?
He just said, what about Vero? What is it? When you guys were talking about the Facebook privacy policy and people moving off of Facebook to the a more secure...
Other private sources.
Yeah, so, basically... What I know about it is it's a new social network. It has some, extended privacy options. That about caps out my knowledge of it. So sorry, Travis, I don't have any good additional info for you there. I can promise you have it.
I have it.
Interesting.
I think it was geared more towards creatives, so people can post their artwork and other things like that. So it was directed more towards designers.
So maybe more of a Dribbble competitor than anything else.
Except that it's not. Dribbble is
it's like your portfolio.
Right. This is really high end
place
stuff.
To showcase
but
your
people
work.
are posting poetry and stuff too. So it's
interesting.
Things.
So Travis, I don't have a good answer for your question other than that. But I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll research it for next week.
Well, let's tackle this issue: the idea that a Facebook competitor could be built on specialization. That you could devolve an aggregator. Mm-hmm. You could take a piece of an aggregator where it's not specialized for, say, art, and you could devolve it into and look, this is everything coming full circle. Like, the joke 10 years ago in technology was, now we have like the Uber of, I'm going to start the Uber of microphone delivery. Well, like 10 years ago is, I'm going to start Facebook for cat lovers. I'm going to start Twitter for real estate agents. Could we be in a place where we're going to devolve that back to where...
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the cast a wide net doesn't necessarily have to be the focus and mission of a new network now. I think, you probably need a network that's beyond just cat videos, but I think there are some niches where you can hit a really core audience as long as it's an audience that you can go, it's a wide enough that you can go deep with.
And produces valuable visual work, too, is probably another key.
Yeah. I think that's interesting.
Do you think Reddit already fills that void? Because Reddit has some deep subreddits, like stuff you never...
Yeah, I mean, look, Reddit bills itself, as the front page of the internet. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that the thing Reddit does best, and is going to continue to do best, is allowing you to go in on one thing and then find 50 other things that you're going to spend the next 4 hours on. And I think that's their core competency, is leading you down rabbit holes. Right. And they're interesting rabbit holes. So
here's something I want to pose. How did Reddit not get blamed for the Russian Russian influence in the 2016 elections, but Facebook did? Yeah. Because where everybody who follows politics and the internet knows, the real crazy stuff was on Reddit and 4chan. Reddit and 4chan would be the originators of the Pizzagate theories, or Hillary Clinton having 9 people assassinated theories. Right. If I were the Russians, I would probably go work those places first before I started spending money on Facebook. Yeah. But Reddit just kind of scoots under the radar.
And there you don't have to spend any money. You just have some dedicated people talking in forums.
Yeah.
Much.
All right, we promised people we're going to be short today. We're at half an hour already. Let's bring it in for a landing. What do you want to talk about before we go?
So anything you want to talk WWDC related?
All right, so WWDC was Monday. If you don't know what it is, because you're not maybe an Apple fanboy like I am, self-admitted, WWDC is the Worldwide Developer Conference. It's probably the format that you're all most familiar with if you've seen an Apple keynote before. It's Tim Cook and the other leaders of the company on stage presenting things. In the last couple years, it's become less about presenting their new devices. Right? Occasionally, there's a device that still premieres at developer conference, but it's a lot about their software. So they talked about the new iOS, which predictably is iOS 12. They talked about the next version of the Mac operating system, which will be Mac OS Mojave. They've finally stretched away from mountains. They're talking about other things in California now. Yeah. There was not anything that super jumped out to me this week. A lot of incremental improvements to the software that runs this watch and runs this phone and runs this computer. The AR play is pretty interesting to me that they're making, though. One of the apps they debuted is a new app called Measure, which will be, I assume it's only going to be available on the iPhone 10 and any devices going forward that have their AR capabilities, augmented reality built in. But what it allows you to do is I could essentially take this phone, step back from the conference table, the phone will get its bearings and tell me exactly how wide or how long this conference table is. So it's basically, instead of needing a ruler, you're going to use an app to measure things that you need to measure in real life. I assume eventually it'll get to the point where it's precise enough to make a cut on if you're building something, or to deliver specs on a product. So that's a really interesting piece of what they released on Monday. I think that's obviously important to where technology is going in the future. You see some of the augmented reality stuff already in your shopping behavior if you're a big Amazon user. So if you haven't seen this, go try to buy an Amazon Echo on the website. In fact, remind me, because we need to talk about Echoes in a second. Yeah. But you can actually see the feature where if you turn on your camera, it will show you the size of whatever Amazon Echo, whether it's an Echo Dot or an Echo Show or the base Echo, and how it would fit on a table or a dresser or wherever you want to put it. So it actually takes a little image at the right angle, sitting in the right spot, and would place it right on this table if I were looking at it through my phone. So, that's where you're going to see is, what kind of shopping experiences the Amazon Show, which is the little tablet-sized Amazon Echo, is specifically built to see yourself in different outfits. So I actually have one of these. They were on sale this week waiting at my house. I'm super excited to check out. But the whole point is basically clothing for Amazon there. You can step back from the camera. It will get a full body picture of you. And for clothing items that have added this AR feature. You can literally see what your body would look like with that piece of clothing in a particular size on, right? So if I'm interested in this gray sweatshirt, if I'm interested in these pants, I can see what they would look like on my body on the Amazon Echo Show.
And so I think the marketing implications there, we talk about on a different show, and I'll make a note here because I think we could go.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things that can come from that. So before we go, one other thing I want to direct you to about the Amazon Echo is if you head over to our Instagram page, Strategic Digital Services, we've got a promotion going right now. We're trying to up our Instagram game, so we're giving away 2 Echo Dots by Monday, right? That's when the promotion ends, Monday. So we've got 2 Echo Dots we're going to give away. All you have to do is basically find the post, like it, and tag a friend, and you can be entered to win an Echo Dot for you and an Echo Dot for your friend. So it's pretty easy. All we want you to do is come in, like the post, follow the page. We'll get you some free stuff if you win. So other than that, that's our edition for this Friday. Thank you for staying with us. Hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.